ever wondered how quickly an NFL player's trajectory can change? One moment, a young player is seen as a promising addition to a team, full of potential and development opportunities. The next, he's fighting for his spot on the roster, with rumors swirling about a potential trade. That seems to be the case with Colby Sorsdal, an offensive lineman who, despite entering the league with high expectations, now finds himself in a precarious position with the Detroit Lions. As the team looks ahead to the 2025 season and evaluates its roster needs, speculation is growing that Sorsdal could be on the move. But how did he get here? Why would the Lions consider parting ways with him? What teams could be interested in acquiring his services? And how would this impact Detroit's long-term strategy? When the Lions selected Sorsdal in the 2023 NFL Draft, they saw him as a developmental piece, someone who, with time and the right coaching, could become a valuable contributor to the offensive line. Coming out of a smaller program, he wasn't expected to be an immediate starter, but his versatility, strength, and work ethic made him an intriguing addition to Detroit's depth chart. His rookie season saw flashes of promise, particularly in situations where he was called upon to fill in for injured starters. Coaches praised his willingness to learn, his ability to adapt to different positions along the line, and his high motor, which kept him competitive in training camp and preseason games. However, as the Lions continued to invest in strengthening their offensive line, his role became less certain. Detroit already had one of the league's most formidable offensive fronts, featuring established stars and key depth pieces. With every draft and free agency period, new talent was added to the mix, creating intense competition for roster spots. Sorsdal, despite his potential, found himself in an uphill battle. The challenge wasn't just about outperforming his competition, it was about proving he could be a reliable and durable asset over a long season. By the time the 2024 season rolled around, Sorsdal faced the toughest challenge of his young career. The Lions had brought in new linemen through both free agency and the draft, further crowding his position. While he had made strides in his development, the reality of the NFL is harsh. Teams prioritize players who can contribute immediately. Despite his efforts, his snap count dwindled, and he was often relegated to the inactive list on game days. The coaching staff, while acknowledging his hard work, had to make decisions that best suited the team's immediate and long-term goals. Availability and consistency are crucial in the league, and if a player isn't seeing the field, their value to the team diminishes quickly. For Sorsdal, that meant slipping down the depth chart and onto the bubble of the 53-man roster. For the Lions, the situation isn't necessarily about Sorsdal's talent, it's about roster construction. Detroit's offensive line is one of the strongest in the league, and depth at the position is already solidified. With several proven starters and younger players emerging as viable backups, Sorsdal may no longer be seen as a necessary piece. In the NFL, when a team has surplus talent at one position, it often looks to maximize trade value rather than letting a player sit on the bench. If Detroit believes they can get even a late-round draft pick in return, that could be seen as a win, especially if they use that pick to address areas of greater need, such as the linebacker core or secondary. The financial aspect of this decision also plays a role. While Sorsdal is still on a cost-effective rookie contract, freeing up his roster spot could allow the Lions to allocate resources elsewhere. Every offseason, teams must make tough choices to balance salary cap space, positional depth, and future draft capital. Trading Sorsdal could be a strategic move to bring in additional assets that contribute to Detroit's long-term success. If they see another player on the market who fits a pressing need, using Sorsdal as a trade chip could be a way to acquire a player who can make an immediate impact. If the Lions do decide to move on from Sorsdal, there are several teams that could be interested in acquiring him. Offensive linemen are always in high demand in the NFL, particularly among teams struggling with injuries or lacking depth. Some potential suitors include the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have had ongoing struggles solidifying their offensive front. A versatile young lineman like Sorsdal could provide much-needed depth and a developmental project for their coaching staff. The New York Jets, with their continued pass protection issues, could look at Sorsdal as a depth piece who has the potential to develop into a rotational lineman. The Arizona Cardinals, in the midst of a rebuild, may look to add young offensive linemen to support their future franchise quarterback. The Tennessee Titans, with a revamp of their offensive line underway, could see Sorsdal as a low-risk, high-reward addition. There's also the possibility that a team dealing with unexpected injuries could emerge as a trade partner. Offensive linemen get hurt frequently, and as the offseason progresses, some teams may become more desperate to fill gaps. If that happens, the Lions could find themselves in a position to negotiate a better return for Sorsdal. The market for linemen is always shifting, and teams that may not seem interested now could be making calls later. The most likely trade compensation for Sorsdal would be a mid to late round draft pick, which would allow Detroit to stockpile assets for future moves. However, there is also the possibility of a player-for-player trade. If the Lions have their eyes on adding depth at linebacker or in the secondary, they could use Sorsdal as a bargaining chip to acquire a contributor in a position of greater need. Given how aggressive Detroit has been in building a winning roster, no option is off the table. The front office has shown a willingness to make calculated moves that benefit both the present and the future, and a trade involving Sorsdal would likely follow that philosophy. While trade rumors are swirling, there's always a chance that Sorsdal remains with the team. If he impresses during training camp and proves that he can provide valuable depth, the Lions might opt to keep him. Roster spots are never guaranteed in the NFL, but strong preseason performances have changed careers before. Sorsdal will have to prove that he has made tangible improvements in his game, whether in pass protection, run blocking, or overall technique. If he shows that he can be a key depth piece, Detroit may reconsider moving on from him. For Sorsdal, the upcoming months will be critical. He will need to demonstrate not only that he belongs on this roster, but also that he can contribute meaningfully if given the opportunity. Whether it's with the Lions or another team, his work ethic and determination will dictate the next chapter of his career. For Lions fans, this will be one of the more intriguing storylines to watch as the offseason unfolds. If Detroit does decide to move on from Sorsdal, the focus will shift to what they receive in return and how they utilize those assets to strengthen the team. If he stays, the pressure will be on him to prove that he deserves a spot on one of the NFL's most competitive offensive lines. One thing is certain, the Lions are making every move with the goal of contending for a championship. Whether Sorsdal remains part of that journey or finds a new home elsewhere, the team will do what is necessary to keep improving. The NFL is a league of constant change, and this offseason will be no exception. If you want to stay updated on all the latest Lions news, trade rumors, and roster updates, make sure to subscribe to Lions News Fan Report and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.